Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and today I'm going to bring to you a pretty controversial topic. And if you're pro-Ukraine, pro-Palestine or anti-Israel, you might get emotional damage. So you might want to just tune away. But if you want to learn, if you really you're not the kind of cup is full kind of person, if you still have some space to pour more water into yourself, yeah, then you may want to continue to watch. So I wrote this article earlier today, which caused me to miss out on the Ukraine war mapping. I was supposed to do the Ukraine war mapping. End up I spent my time writing this article, and I think it's very, very important because I'm getting flack from both sides in this war between Hamas and Israel, and it's very important to note that it's between Hamas and Israel. It's not between Palestine and Israel. So, but of course, there are people who will be rejecting this and say this is Israel attacking the Palestinian people. Is not. Actually, it's not. And it's important to note that what actually is Palestine and why the West Bank and Gaza is actually two different entities. They are literally, if you were to call Palestine a state, there's actually two states of Palestine. One is Gaza and one is West Bank. They are two different states. It's just like there is two Chinas. Now one is People's Republic of China and one is Republic of China, or two Koreas, one North Korea, one South Korea. The different entity. So, but the title of this article is there was never a country called Palestine yet. So, and you might find it very controversial, but actually, if you actually really dig into history, really look into it, even United Nations don't really recognize Palestine as a full country, like literally. That's why it didn't get a full seat. It got a observer status, a non-state observer status. So it's not really a full country yet. And so in this video, I'm going to explain why, using the help of this article that I've written, because it's easier to just go through this. So this is actually probably a very famous picture. You probably have seen this being shared by the anti-Israel or pro-Palestine people. And it makes Israel look like a very evil country, slowly growing like a cancer, and then finally become make the territory of Palestine become almost full cancer and not Palestine. But this is just propaganda. Actually, you have to understand. You see the years they use: 46, 47, starting 49 to 67. Then suddenly they jump to 2012. What happened between that? Don't say, because it's very humiliating. That's why they don't put it. So 1946. This picture. This is actually not Palestine as a country. This is actually just a Palestine mandate. Basically, you have to understand at the end of World War I, the Ottoman Empire has basically collapsed, and the Allied countries basically split up Ottoman Empire into many countries. And Palestine is one of those weird places where it's not here, not there. And then the British actually had the Balfour Declaration. They wanted to help the Jews to form their own state in Palestine, near to Jerusalem, where their so-called their historical sacred land is. And Palestine, the territory of Palestine actually isn't that crowded. You have to understand, during those days, population is actually not that big, and it's very sparse. There's definitely more than enough space for everyone. But of course, Arabs are not happy about it. They don't like it, and they also don't like that the British are making decisions for them. And then so they have a revolt. So it was under the British control, and of course, the British very smart. They always make very good decisions, and with their ultimate wisdom, they're going to form the Jewish state, as I mentioned in the 1917 Balfour Declaration. So And in mandatory Palestine, basically they are mandated. The Palestine mandate. They have to become a state. They have to become a country someday. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire, when the time is right. So when is the time right? It's really dependent on the Americans and the British after World War II. So and then no, after World War One. So there was, of course, that I said the Arabs are not happy. Then there was an Arab revolt. Many Arabs died in it. Some Jews died as well, because the Jews are slowly trickling in, and they are causing discomfort among the Arabs that was living there. And it's important to note that they are called Arabs. They're not called Palestinians. During those days, they are just Arabs. So the United Nations in 1947, at the end of the World War II, so this one, they drew the map like this. This is what they drew. It's a United Nations plan. It's a plan. This is not a real thing. This never existed. This is just a plan of the United Nations. That this is how they want to split it. And I think it's very generous to the Israeli. I say. So anyway, so they declared, and then the moment the United Nations declared this, war broke out, and it's a civil war, and the British run away. The British don't want to care. The British, being British after World War II, they are just not in the appetite for any kind of fighting, so they run. And so like I said, this is just a plan. And during those days is very funny. The USSR, the Soviet Union, actually support the Zionist cause to form Israel. And of course, the Jews around the world donated money to help to build this new Israeli army. And early 1948, the Arab Liberation Army invaded into Palestine. They entered. So these are the Arab Legion. It's like a foreign legion, where citizens from all over different Arab countries formed this freedom fighting legion to liberate Palestine in a way. So, and including Muslim from Bosnia as well. So the Muslim Brotherhood also entered, and I think they contributed around 100 over soldiers. And all this while, as the civil war started to brew, all the useful people started to run away. The middle and the upper class Arabs all fled Palestine because they got money to run. So that is a very poor start. Because if your middle class and upper class all run away, then you lack the talent to build a country. You cannot build the economy. Everything will be shit. So that is actually a very, very, very bad start. And then Israel, during this time, they are fighting back, these volunteers, and they are training their troops. They're trying to get weapons, equipment, and eventually they declared their independence. And the moment they declared their independence, of course, the Arab countries cannot accept it, and they entered war. So this Egypt, Transjordan, so during those days they still call Jordan Transjordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Yemen all sent expeditionary forces to the Palestine with a dog ear, because Palestine is not a country, it's just a territory, it's an area, it's just a place. It's just like Golan Heights is a place, then the Sahel is a place, Palestine is a place. So they are sent to the Palestine, and this becomes essentially the Israeli War of Independence. So you can see the liberation armies, the Arab liberation armies, both sides are trying to liberate something. So they entered from all sides, and you can see that the Israeli is fighting a very weird war. You can see their territory is all over the place. They look like oil on water, and this is actually quite bad. And at one point of the war, you can see that the Israel forces is left with all this red area. So all this red area is where the Israelis are, and the entire southern part of the land of Palestine has been captured by the Arab armies. And the Israeli are actually pushed all the way in the northern area, although they did capture the Galilee region, but they pretty much still stuck by the coast. Whereas in the West Bank, the Israeli did not did not really actually go into it, and they only went to Jerusalem, on the left side of the Jerusalem, and that's about it. This is the first part of the war, and Israel continued to struggle, pretty much, because no one wants to help them. The British don't want to help them because they feel that the British are not, the Israeli are not going to win, and the Americans also did not help them. In the end, Israel finally got Czechoslovakia to sell them arms and ammunition, and in fact, that is the only country that is willing to sell anything to Israel, and Israel finally acquired all these weapons and managed to fight, and it is known from historical record that Israel recognized that without Czechoslovakia, Israel would not have won this war, like, for sure. So they finally counterattacked, and eventually we saw the ending part of it is the panel 3. So in panel 3 is this. So in Israel counterattack, and it actually managed to capture the most of the land of Palestine. And Palestine remains, but this is not Palestine. In fact, this West Bank area is actually annexed, not annexed, but they are controlled, essentially conquered by Jordan, Transjordan, and the Gaza Strip is basically conquered by the Egyptians. So this is the map that we get, 1949 to 1967, and you have to remember before this point, which is between the UN plan to 1949, this is actually never the case. This was never a real thing. This map, this panel 2, was never a real map. This is just a plan by the United Nations. There wasn't actually no borders. There's no clear borders because during those days, Israel and Palestine, basically, they haven't even decided what to do yet. They are still, arguing, negotiating, on where the line should be drawn in the sand. But it was the Arabs' war against Israel that forced Israel into mass militarization, and they managed to win the war, and actually, I wouldn't maybe win the war, maybe, and managed to capture more land than what the United Nations would have planned. So if you look at this in another way, had the Arab countries did not enter war with Israel, maybe the UN plan might be the actual border of Palestine. Maybe. And Israel will be cut into pieces into this untenable three-piece puzzle. Palestine will also, of course, going to be a three-piece puzzle. But, at least Palestine will have connection with all the neighboring Arab countries like Syria, Lebanon, not Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt. They will have a decent border. Half of the land, Israel get all the desert in the bottom, which is pretty much useless. Yeah, this will be the land, and Palestine will have most of the good lands. But in the end, what we get, because of the Arab intervention, I'm not even sure if the Palestinians actually asked for it. The Arabs decided that they want to fight for for whatever. So this is in the end the map that we see from 1949 all the way to 1967. And then when I saw this, and then when I realized Palestine was not Palestine, because it's not a country, it's not a state, it was actually occupied by foreign forces. They were occupied by Jordan and Egypt. West Bank, Jordan, Gaza Strip, Egypt. They are occupied. They are occupied just like they are being occupied by Israel right now. So they're occupied, and then why didn't Jordan and Egypt or the entire Arab League or the Arab countries help Palestine to declare their independence? They did not. Why? This is the question you need to ask yourself. This is why you need to understand the geopolitics. You have to understand every country's motivation is different. Don't think of moral and ethics. It doesn't exist. The whole Arab-Israeli war is purely the Arabs trying to cut up Palestine because they see Israel. Israel was a very small country. In fact, it's not even a country. It was a very small group of people with not a very significant military. It was destined to lose the war by right. The British do not want to help because they feel that it's not worth helping. Israel will lose the war, and the Arabs think the same, and they plan to cut Palestine up among themselves. Egypt, Jordan, Syria, all will have a part, have a piece of the big pie. And they managed to get a small pie, but it's still a pie, nevertheless. So this is it. Almost 20 years, 49 to 67, 18 years of time in Palestine occupied. They could have organized elections, they could have organized a government, but no, they have nothing. And then what happened after at 1969? 1969. So this is the map. As you can see, there is no word in this map. So this is the armistice agreement between Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt. And in this map, there is no place called Palestine. If you notice this map, none of this place actually is called Palestine. Let me see. So if I go through this, you can see there is no place called Palestine. There isn't. There is Jordan, there's Egypt, and they stretch all the way into the West Bank, around Jerusalem. The southern part of the Jerusalem is actually under international. It's like no one owns it, and there's no Palestine in this map. There's only Israel and the neighboring country of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. This is an important note. That means at this point, at the end of the war, the independence war or the Arab-Israeli war, there was no Palestine as a country. None. So as I mentioned, they left Palestine in limbo because they never formed the state of Palestine for the Palestinians, and the refugees are also stranded in the neighboring Arab countries. They are all living in refugee camps. The hosting countries do not want to recognize them or take them in as citizens. The children are born as refugees. They are not born as the countries they are in. And why? Because they deliberately hold these Palestinians hostage so that they continue to claim a right to go back to Palestine, despite that they might live their entire life in these refugee camps, in these host countries, and never even step on the ground of Palestine ever. And that's the plan. That is the Arab states for you. They wanted to use the Palestinians as a weapon against the Israeli, and to eventually string down Israel again. And then comes the 6-Day War. The 6-Day War is not shown in the famous 4 panels. It was not here. Until 67, the next day is the 6-Day War. They don't dare to show it because there is no more Palestine at all. From after the 6-Day War, there was no Palestine. There's no Gaza. All of it is annexed or controlled or captured by Israel. In fact, this entire lower part, all the way stretched to Sinai Peninsula, is all Israel. They conquered it from Egypt. And in fact, the mapping, I'm not even sure it is accurate because the Golan Heights is also captured in the 6-Day War by the Israeli. So for a more accurate mapping, we'll have to go down. So this is what happened. So you can see the Golan Heights. This was captured, but it was not shown on the map. Until today, it's still under Israeli control. And they captured, you see, previously there was no West Bank, there's no Gaza inside Israel. Then they captured it. And then they captured the entire Sinai all the way to the Suez Canal. This is why they cannot put that into the 4 panels, because it would just make Israel look too good. Instead of making Israel look like an evil country. So this war is a bit of a controversial war because Israel went on a preemptive strike, but it was on a valid casus belli. Prior to this war, what was not actually focused on is the Suez crisis. The Suez crisis is a war between Egypt against France, UK, and Israel. And Israel actually captured the entire Sinai Peninsula in that war, but they were forced to give it up. So they gave it up. So they told Egypt that there is no closure of the Straits of Tiran. So Straits of Tiran is actually this area here, this small little entrance into this water heading to Israel and Jordan. So this straits here was closed during the Suez crisis, and which caused the war between which caused Israel to invade into the Sinai Peninsula, because this is actually denying trade or denying international water from Israel, and Israel see it as a casus belli. They went to war. And again, in the 6-day war, prior to the 6-day war, Egypt did it again. They closed it again, despite Israel warning them that they don't, or they will declare war. And Egypt don't care, they just did it anyway. So Israel go to war. And then they hit Egypt so hard that Egypt was stunned. But during those days, there's no internet, there's no everybody still think that they had a chance, and Israel basically asked Jordan, please don't enter the war. And Jordan said it's too late, because they gave the control of the army to Egypt to fight, and they fight, and then that's where Israel conquered the West Bank, because Jordan controlled the West Bank, and they used the West Bank territory and to shell Israeli settlements, and Israel basically have to fight. So they basically entered West Bank and conquered it. They beat the Jordan army. The Jordan army ran back to Jordan. And it's important to note that Israel did not invade into Jordan itself. They only captured the rest of the West Bank. And in the battle against the Egyptians, of course, they have to capture Gaza. During those days, Gaza is basically a military fortress. You have to understand the Egyptians basically built heavy fortification in Gaza to the point that it is actually a fortress town, and basically Israel just conquered it anyway. And Syria is the most funny part. They entered war only 4 days into the war, and they read fake news from Egypt. It's like when when we watch the Ukraine war, or maybe even this Israeli Hamas war, you can see that all the sides are saying that they are winning. So Egypt was losing, but they also say that they are winning. And Syria basically bought the propaganda. The Egypt told them that they are winning. Israeli army was smashed, and then the Syrians are like, yes, this is our time. The Israeli army is smashed by the Egyptians. We can eat our pie. And then they attacked Israel. And then suddenly they got a massive airstrike by Israel, and then they realized that the information is most likely fake. And they lost the Golan Heights. And they lost the Golan Heights. So, and that's the end of the 6-day war. And Israel basically doubled its size or more through this war. And this is when the non-state of Palestine changed hands from Egypt and Jordan to the hands of Israel. And since then, because Israel's concern is always existential survival to exist, and so having Sinai and Golan Heights allows them to have this buffer zone against Egypt and Syria for future wars, and this was actually proved to be useful. So in the Yom Kippur War, the next war, just a few years later, where Egypt and Syria basically launched a surprise attack on Israel because they want to recapture their lost land, basically did not even reach the actual grounds, the actual Israel itself, this dark green portion of Israel. They did not actually manage to even get there because because of this buffer zone. So it was initially was very successful. They caught the Israeli by surprise because it's a holiday or Limbo, intelligence failure, very familiar. And then they failed to go further, and Israel counterattacked, and it was quite bad. Israel basically counterattacked to the point where they almost reached Damascus, and they broke through to the other side of the Suez Canal, and they actually was about to head towards Cairo. There was 100 kilometers road all the way to Cairo, and it was totally undefended. The Israeli could have reached there. Then the Americans saved the Egyptians. So basically told them, no, please don't do that. And so again, Israel for the third time fought a war and managed to justify its existence. So Israel is definitely 100% a country on its own, and they stand on its own. They have its own government, military, and they almost wipe out the two different countries, Syria and Egypt. So, and of course, after that, Sinai was returned to Egypt on the promise of eternal peace, and yeah, that's what it is. And since then, this is what we know today. So this is the this map is what we know today. This is 2011, but things did not really change a lot per se. You can see that the whole of Israel, and they occupy the Golan Heights, and then there's Gaza, and then there's West Bank, and then there's all these different enclaves of West Bank. And basically, this map is the fourth panel of this famous 4-panel maps, and which is this. So this is a 2012 map. Just now that one is a 2011 map. So you can see how we reached from 1967 to 2012. They did not show this middle panel between 3 and 4 because basically Palestine disappeared. There was no Palestine at all. It was entirely gone, like gone. So it was then Israel, they signed a deal with the PLO in 1993. So with Yasser Arafat, this is a very well-known name during those days. I even know this name when I was a kid. So he was the leader of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and they signed an agreement which they recognize each other. So the PLO recognized the state of Israel, and Israel recognized PLO as the sole authority for all Palestinian people. So this actually creates the first step towards peace, and there was really some very real steps towards peace. So in these letters these things that they signed, the PLO recognized the state of Israel, as I see written here, and they also pledged to reject violence. This is important because prior to that, PLO actually have a military arm, much like the Hamas today have a military arm called the Al-Qassam Brigade. So PLO also have the military arm, and so they rejected violence. So they pledged that they will stay peaceful with Israel, and in return, Israel recognized PLO as the sole representation of the Palestinian people and partners in negotiation. So the only organization for the Palestinians is the PLO, which the Israel will talk to. So so this is important because despite all these things, they have this. Palestine is still not a country at this point. They only recognize the PLO as the representative of the Palestinian people, and essentially allowing the Palestinian territories to have self-governance, have autonomy. But this is not a country. This basically autonomy is a bit like the Aceh province in Indonesia, or Hong Kong in China, or the Catalonia in Spain. They have self-government, but they are not a country. So just that they are a bit different. Of course, you see Aceh, part of Indonesia, is very different from Hong Kong as part of China, which is different from Catalonia as part of Spain. So of course, I understand there is some differences, but I'm just saying that it is a state within a state, put it that way. And it's important to note that Israel did not annex Palestine out of existence. They actually willing to sign the agreement, maybe due to pressure, maybe all the terrorist acts, made it very not worth it. I'm not sure. Or maybe Israel are just very racist. They don't want to absorb all these Palestinians. I don't know. So, but that is it. So, and this is actually important because this is the very first time the Palestinians actually have sovereignty. This is the first time they actually have any autonomy. They actually managed to self-rule for the first time. The Arabs didn't give them that when they are ruling the Palestinians, under the Jordanians or the Egyptians. It is Israel that gave the Palestinian their first taste of autonomy. And this taste goes bad pretty fast. Within around 10 years, they proceeded to go into some kind of civil war, which is the Hamas Fatah conflict. So the Hamas today, as you know, the Hamas basically won an election. They Palestine have this massive election, and they won the majority. So Fatah become the opposition, but they are supposed to form a unity government. However, Hamas refused to recognize the state of Israel. This actually goes against the entire agreement by the PLO with Israel, that they have to recognize Israel for the existence of the Palestinian territory for self-governance. Hamas said no. And this created this massive split between the two. And this is also the part where Hamas did not want to participate in diplomacy. They went to this conflict and they broke apart. So today, just a quick update on what happened during this breakup between Hamas and Fatah. Hamas basically did a forceful takeover. They ejected all Fatah officials in West Bank, in Gaza Strip, and they took full control of Gaza. Fatah basically disrecognized the legitimacy of Hamas because they broke this important tenets of you must recognize the state of Israel, they basically took over. They cast Hamas as illegitimate, and then they form a government on their own, basically then become the Palestinian National Authority, which is led by Mahmoud Abbas in 2006. So and then after that he was given the leader for life. In most other countries we call that dictatorship. But no one ever called him a dictator of Palestine. It's a very, very weird thing. Really, you can check it out. Really, Mahmoud Abbas, no need election, man. There's no election ever since 2006 after all this breakup between Fatah and Hamas. And since then, there is actually two states. There is no one state of Palestine. There is a state within a state, except that these are two states, Gaza and West Bank. There is no one Palestinian state within Israel. So that's the reality. So you have to understand these differences of what Palestine is. Then you can actually kind of recognize and see where the problems are, and not blindly support for the sake of supporting Palestine. I personally support the people of Palestine. I don't support the leadership because the leadership are rubbish. So I want the people of Palestine to have peace, prosperity, they have welfare, they can grow, they can study, they can become rich, travel around the world, become tourists, whatever, whatnot, have a good life. But not under these leaderships. So Hamas basically is like a terrorist group, which is a terrorist group that basically annexed Gaza. They took control over Gaza, and Israel did not intervene even. Israel just let them be. Maybe Israel wanted to be that way. They want to weaken the Palestinian Authority, which also doesn't make a lot of sense because the Palestinian Authority was actually granted its legitimacy by Israel themselves. So, and then on the other side, in West Bank, democracy go out of the window. They kind of among the council of leaders or something, basically voted Mahmoud Abbas into this infinity leader. He will forever be leader somehow. I'm not sure where the legitimacy come from, but he is the leader for life, and he is the dictator of West Bank. So there is no good guys in Palestine in terms of the leadership. Both are bad. Hamas is bad. The other one is also bad. They are not. There's no rights for the Palestinian people, not even from their own leaders. This is very important to note. You have to understand this. It's not just everything is Israel. The Palestinian leadership themselves don't even have proper democracy. So in 2008, Mahmoud Abbas, and this was not very long. No, this the breakdown between Fatah and Hamas was 2006, 2008. The Prime Minister of Israel then, Ehud Olmert, which is this guy, no, he wanted to give West Bank full independence, the full independence. So but no, there is also something suspicious. No, he basically offered Abbas that most of the West Bank will be Palestine, and then Israel will withdraw from it, except for some of the enclave. And for this enclave, they will be they will be given back with additional land from Israel, mostly I think desert. So they will get 93.7% of the West Bank. The Palestinians of the West Bank will get 93.7% of the West Bank, and then it will make up all the way to 99.5% by the additional desert from Israel. But it was rejected because Abbas cannot get the map. Somehow this prime minister is very suspicious. He refused to allow Abbas to have a copy of that map. I'm not too sure why. Maybe the prime minister is not even supposed to give him this offer. Maybe he's not supposed to give this offer of independence. Maybe he did this in secret. I'm not sure. So he refused to give him the map, to let him study the map properly. So he rejected. It's not wrong. It's not wrong that you can't just sign a deal blindly. But he also this prime minister also did warn that if you don't accept now, you're not going to get this opportunity at least for another 50 years. And it seems to be quite true, because we are already halfway gone of these 50 years. So on the other hand, Gaza is firmly in the hands of Hamas. So this entire negotiation has nothing to do with the Gaza Strip. It's purely the West Bank. So in the end, on the Gaza side, Hamas make full true of their position that they are against the state of Israel. So they launched an intifada and all sort of conflict with Israel. And of course, Israel just hit them, keep them back and smash them, and a lot of people die. And then that basically caused the main bulk of this Palestinian movement, of this this sympathy throughout the entire world for the Palestinians is mainly because of the Hamas war with Israel, mainly in Gaza. The West Bank situation is very complicated. I mean, the people just prefer the leadership just prefer the line in the sand. They like to draw the line in the sand, and they insist that this is Palestine. They refuse to think about the people. They didn't put the Palestinian people at the forefront. Get the independence. Let your people grow. The land, that little bit of difference in terms of the land, is not going to make that much difference. But the pride, the ego, or maybe they just want the status quo. They want to be the leadership for life. They want to have the power and influence for life. I don't know. And they continue to reject peace deals. So you have to understand why all these things is important. Hamas and the Fatah and the Palestinian leadership, the Palestinian national authorities, are two different administrations. The two sides, the West Bank and the Gaza, is basically two different states. Essentially, they are two different entities. They are no longer the same thing. So mixing the two up is no longer something that you should be doing, because you will confuse yourself, because there is just so many complications. It's like you look at Donald Trump say something, then you say, oh, this is whole of America. This is not true. It's just Donald Trump and his supporters, and maybe a big majority of the Republican Party. That is not a representation of the United States. Similarly, Biden or the Democratic Party say something, that is also not a representative of the entire of United States. Similarly, the European Union can say something, but that doesn't mean that it's a representation of the full of Europe. That is the thing. And not to mention, Hamas fully controlled Gaza, and the rest of the official internationally recognized authority only controls West Bank. These two is also entirely different entities. So yeah, no, Palestinian Americans living, no, the people, no, there is a lot of Palestinians actually have dual citizenship. They are doing very well overseas, earning a lot of money, buying houses in West Bank, something you do not know, and they work overseas to bring money back, and buy property, send money back for their relatives, their parents. They live a good life in the Western world. Yeah, but things you probably not see, I guess. So then the Trump gave his famous peace deal of the century, so called. It's not as generous as the 2008 one, because the 2008 basically the Israeli just withdraw from the entire of the West Bank. This is the not so much of withdrawing from the entire West Bank, but it does come with other caveats that is actually pretty good for Palestine as well. So basically, there is bridges and tunnels that links up all the enclaves, basically making them a one whole connected state. And there's also a tunnel linking to West Bank with additional land given to them, probably in compensation of some of the other land that was annexed. And yeah, forming this massive chain of impossible thing, because the Palestinian authorities have no control over West Bank. So that's why yeah, but no, this is actually also a pretty good deal, because like you have gone through with me for the past 40 minutes, Palestine until this point is still never a country. It was still never a country. They are the conquered subject, and Israel basically just gave them because of international pressure, I guess, just gave them some autonomy and everything, and this offer to allow them to become a state, become a country on its own. Yes, there is a lot of short change. They don't have a clear border. All the border is taken over by Israel. The Israel will also have full control over military stuff, or Palestine they cannot have a military. I mean, it is not a problem, because you have one of the most powerful military in the world protecting you. Israel will protect you. But if you view Israel as the enemy, then Israel will never allow you to have independence, because then you are a threat to Israel. I mean, it makes sense, right? So this is the situation where in this plan there was even promised investments into industry, new residential zones, allow people to grow, to expand away from the crowded West Bank and whatnot. I think there's a new airport, there's a new port in West Bank, in Gaza, and yeah, all sort of things. Then is all out of the window. It's all gone. Is no more, because it was rejected even before they even saw this proposal, because they have to give in, and the leadership feels that that line in the sand have to go back to this map, or at least this map. So they have to go back to at least this 1949 to 1967 map. They feel that they must have this at least in order for them to sign. But trust me, if Israel say, okay, I will give you this 1967 pre-1967 borders, they will also not sign it. Trust me, they will not sign it. They will say they want the 1947 one for sure. But yeah, what do I know? So let's say it is 1967. But if Palestine do not guarantee the safety and security of Israel, they do not denounce or put it into constitution that they will not attack Israel, then Israel have no reasons to give them this independence. And now Netanyahu is the prime minister again, and I got a feeling that he really want to solve this Palestinian issue once and for all. This is probably his final term as the prime minister, I believe. He's a bit old already, so I don't think he's going to run much longer. So he probably want to have this final swan song, and I think this is going to lead to a lot more suffering for the Palestinian people before it would get better. And perhaps if things get very bad, maybe even this last panel will look very generous for the Palestinian people. Anyway, yeah, this is the entire video article for this. There was never a country called Palestine yet. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.